Good morning, and happy Monday. New week, new money. Welcome, everybody, back to another edition of the Spin Zone. I'm your host, Spin Doc, with you here on a beautiful Monday morning, and we actually have a big card today. It's a lot going on. We got the trade deadline coming up pretty soon. We got a lot of teams and a lot of good pitchers in action tonight. So we'll cover three, and obviously I'll get your takes or answer any questions that you have. Give any of my takes on any of the ones that we don't cover. But before we get going, this show is being brought to you on behalf of the Daily Bread Network on YouTube. Please do subscribe if you haven't already, and get you access to all of our content, including a whole bunch of NFL preview shorts that Sosa and I did record. We cover every division, every team, and answer a few questions for each one of them. So if you have not already, please follow me at SpinDoc Sports on X. Like the video. If you like what you hear, give it a share. We do appreciate the love. So like I said, new week, new money, no shows over the weekend. Sharpie and I had the Super Show Friday, so now we're back to the regular grind. And if you're in VIP, it's been going swimmingly. Very, 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 very well. We had a few ball situations that cost us an even bigger number, but that's part of the game, so I ain't going to complain. But VIP sitting at 57.7% win percentage, plus 32.92 units. If you want in on that, links in my bio, links in a post that I just posted not too long before we went on the air. Please feel free. We can get you in for a day, week, month, whatever you want. We'd love to help you win. We are the drive towards 60% win percentage continues, and or up 60 units for the year. Those are my personal goals, and we're right on track to hit those by the time the season ends. So let's talk about over the weekend. What did we learn? Well, we learned a few things. Number one is that I told you this when we came back from the All-Star break, and I actually wanted to lead with this one on purpose because we have a bunch of guys that are going to be in this situation over the next few days, is that it's very, very tough to take guys who are almost assuredly going to be traded and to take them to get a whole bunch of strikeouts. So, for example, Merrill Kelly for the Diamondbacks would be the first one. Is that he had actually not a terrible start, even 6 2/3 innings pitched, and actually threw almost 100 pitches. But in a guy's last start with a team, the team is, because if you looked at all the trade rumors, you did see that one, Kelly's contract is expiring this year. Number two is that he's been mentioned in numerous trade talks. The Diamondbacks are selling. And so even though against a team like the Pirates, it's not going to be a situation where they're going to call the game like the guy is going to throw his arm out. Kelly pitched to contact all night, and that's probably what you're going to see from any other pitcher who is potentially going to be on the block and or a high likelihood of being traded. So it's something you have to watch for. If you're not in tune with what the latest trade rumors are, best place to go is MLBTradeRumors.com. They have everything there. You can do search by players' names. If you're ever curious, just do a quick search, and it will it'll just give you an overall picture of like what the rumors are. Is the guy looking at is the player looking at potentially being traded? So in these last few days before the trade deadline, before the 31st, because that's when it is, it's 4 p.m. Eastern, I think, on the 31st. So this week, you have to watch for that stuff, and you have to look at what is the guy's situation. If it's a normal pitcher, if it's a guy that's going to be on the team no matter what after the trade deadline, then you can ignore it. But if not, you have to factor that in to the equation. So that would be the first one. The second thing that I wanted to talk about is that the second pitcher that I wanted to talk about particularly would be Mr. Tarek Skubal. I've talked about this over and over and over and over again, is that for the rest of the season, and this is just me I've said this to VIP as well. Pitchers like Skubal. I'm stopped just short of saying a guy like Zach Wheeler. But the one guy we're talking about today for the time being is on this list too. It's over or nothing. You just can't do it. I mean, he got a line, and I told VIP I'm not touching Skubal either way. He got a line of 6.5 that, if you look at Skubal's performance at home, should have been an easy hit. He also got a team that has hit him and made contact against him really, really well. The two blended together to get exactly 7. He rode the line of 6-7 the entire start, but it doesn't make a difference because Tarik Skubal is just a guy who you just can't fade. For me, it's over or nothing for him the entire way. Another team that is becoming extremely, extremely hard to take an under in any situation is the New York Yankees. They, especially now that they have McMahon in their lineup, because when you put McMahon, you put Stanton, you put Jazz Chisholm, and Judge when he comes back, you put all those guys in a lineup. I mean, that's like 5 potential strikeouts right there. It's 2 to 3 potential homers a game, but it's also 4 to 5 strikeouts. And when we run K-prop, strikeouts are all that I care about. I don't care who wins the game. I don't care how many runs they score. The Yankees could win every single game from here to infinity. I wouldn't care as long as they strike out. And Zach Wheeler was really struggling. Only had 4 strikeouts in about 60-some pitches and just virtually ran the table in his last 4 batters. But when you get a team like the Yankees that has that much swing and miss potential, that is what you can get. You can get a pitcher like Wheeler to just go absolutely apeshit ballistic and hit that prop at the very end. So the Yankees are definitely on the for those of you that haven't watched before, what I call no under island, which means when you're taking them in a strikeout prop, it's either over or nothing. The Rockies are on that list. The Angels are on that list. The Mariners are almost on that list. The Red Sox are almost on that list, meaning like it's going to take a crazy scenario for me to look the other way. And the final team, which is one of the final things I wanted to talk about, the final team that is on that list for the time being, not permanently, because the Rockies have permanent residents this year. The final team, the Orioles are on that list as well. The final team that is on that list is the Detroit Tigers. The Detroit Tigers have just been striking out at an exponential pace lately. Gausman torched them for 10. Max torched them yesterday for 11. They are just swinging and missing at an exponential pace. And you look at their overall team metrics, and this would be like since the All-Star break. And the thing that sticks out to me for the Tigers is the amount of just overall swing and miss that has increased since the All-Star break. This is a team that used to have like an 8 to 9% swinging strike rate, and now they're up closer to 11 or 12 since the break. And when you're vying for a division title and potentially number 1 overall seed in the playoffs, that's just not going to cut it. So the Tigers clearly are on my no under island. We actually cashed them in VIP yesterday with Max. I took a slight live shot on Gausman on Saturday because his fastball velo was down. I've talked to you about why that is previously, but after Gausman just absolutely torched them, literally throwing 92-mile-an-hour fastballs, that was when I said, okay, I know when to adjust. I know when to say when, and that was enough for the Tigers. So if you're looking at teams for potential just teams to pick on, the Tigers would actually be a good one to pick on for an over, especially against a pitcher that has 2 potential out pitches, and Max definitely does with his array of breaking stuff. Doesn't even need a dominating fastball. Some teams whiff to dominating fastballs. Other teams, you can confuse them and get a lot of swing and miss with breaking balls. So if you get the Tigers against a pitcher that has 2 good breaking balls with a whiff rate of, like, I would say 33 to 35% or more, that's a really good spot for a potential over on the Detroit Tigers. So those are the kind of the main things that I wanted to cover from the weekend. We will get to the chat and then we'll get on with the business. We got 3 pitchers to talk about, but there's a whole bunch more going today. So if there's anybody we don't talk about, please feel free to drop them in. And Mom Who Bets, welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to see you in the chat. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining. Shout out to Jay McCarthy for reposting this stream. I appreciate it, my friend. And Roger, yep, that's what I just said. Yep, I agree, Roger. Lots of really good pitchers today. There's a lot of good options today. So, and Kid Keon saying exactly why I'm on Erod's K's today. So welcome in, Kid Keon. And yeah, they're just not being patient right now, and they all seem to have caught like whatever Javi Baez has had his whole career, where you just hack at stuff outside of the zone. They've been better contact overall for the season. It's been kind of like mid to average to above average. So I don't know if this is like just a phase or a lot of times teams that aren't like the Rockies, for example, that has been terrible contact all season. A lot of times that it seems to be like a couple weeks where then they work it out. They watch some film, work on some things, but they're in a deep funk right now. So I totally get it, Kid Keon. And Adams Digest, we were already talking. Adams and I were already talking about a few guys in VIP. So in the VIP chat this morning. So agreed. Let's get it. All right. We will talk about 3 pitchers. I will go over all the same metrics that I do review for VIP for these guys and where I'm looking for all of them. Again, if there's anybody that you don't see on here that we don't cover that you want because kind of my general takes on, I will be happy to give it at the end. So we'll start off with Christopher Sanchez, the no longer fade on the road Christopher Sanchez, because man, this guy's been humming. Striking the lefty, striking guys out at 26.7% rate, walking guys at 6.4. He gets the White Sox with a line that is a little auspicious, and I'll explain why. 6.5 at plus 118, under 6.5 at a heavily juiced minus 158. Okay. So that's the FanDuel price. The DraftKings price is a little bit better, but that's not what we're looking here. We are clearly looking at an over in this spot, and here's why. So Sanchez has been at a 6.5 one time in his last 10 starts. He's actually been at a 6.5, I think, twice this season. The first time was a while ago at home against the Giants when they put a poverty lineup out on moving day, and he torched them for like about 12 or 13. And the second time was against the Red Sox when in his last start when he got 12. Now, Sanchez is averaging 6.9 strikeouts a game. So I understand at some point you have to move the guy up because he's been at a 4.5 and 5.5 pretty regularly throughout all of his starts, really. And Sanchez, and also over the last 10 starts, he is 4-6 to 7+ strikeouts. Not enough past history against the White Sox lineup to really make a discernment. And as of right now, this projected lineup is 2 lefties and 7 righties. Now, here's my point about why I'm looking over, is that the White Sox are not only are they a medium to medium low strikeout team, but they also don't have a whole lot of chasers actually even on their team. So when you look at this lineup going up and down, you see that their team chase rate is 1% under league average, and over half their lineup doesn't chase. Now, the reason why that's important is because Sanchez is getting good zone whiff. The zone contact is 3% under league average, but where you really strike out against Sanchez is when you chase, because he generates chase 2.4% above league average. League chase contact allowed average is 57.6. Sanchez allows 50, and that is just ridiculous. Anytime you're at 50 or below, that is absolutely ridiculous. So if you're going to chase against this guy, you're going to whiff. So when I look at this lineup, and we'll go our 3-3-3, Meadroth, Slater, and Vargas are projected to be the top 3. Meadroth doesn't chase, makes great contact when he does. Slater doesn't chase and makes average contact when he does. Vargas doesn't chase and makes contact when he does. So by the numbers, you would only expect potentially one strikeout, maybe two between these three guys. You got Kiro, Tauschman, and Robert. Kiro is a very, very high contact guy to begin with. Tauschman and Robert Tauschman is average on both, and Robert hacks and doesn't make contact. So you have a great strikeout guy in Robert. You also have, like I said, potentially 1 to maybe 1.5. So now we're only at 2.5. So like we're a long way away from 7. Sosa, Montgomery, Taylor are the last 3. Taylor is an easy strikeout candidate, terrible chase contact. Same thing with Montgomery, and same thing with Sosa. Sosa, all of them chase a ton. So you have 3 strikeouts from the bottom of the lineup, if this is actually who it is. The White Sox have a whole bunch of different guys that they run at the bottom of their lineup depending on matchup. I'm not sure that they're going to go Colson Montgomery here because he's got limited plate appearances and it's lefty-lefty. So I'm not 100% sure that they'll go with him. There's a couple other guys that they could run in this spot, but let's just say we get projected. We have 3 strikeouts, potentially 4 from the bottom 3, and we have probably 2.5 at the top. And that's where I think that this number can come from with the 6.5. Now, what it requires is Sanchez to go deeper into the game. Reason why that is because the deeper he goes, the more chances he'll face these bottom 3, which are absolutely abysmal. And you look at his prop, and his outs prop is set solid, 18.5. That's right where he goes. He's had 20 plus outs in virtually all of his last 10 starts. I think 7 of his last 8, he's gotten 20 outs or more. So it's very possible that he'll face all of these guys 3 times, which is where my 4 strikeout projection comes from. And the other thing that really stands out to me is that Sanchez, when he goes 6+ innings and only gives up 1 earned run, he has a very, very high strikeout rate. And so to the point where when he records 20 plus outs and only gives up 1 earned run, you're looking at a strikeout rate that goes from 6.9 on average to over 8. And that's where I think that this 6.5 comes from. So I want to see what happens with the lineup. For guys that I want in for sure for the White Sox, I for sure want the bottom 3 in: Sosa, Montgomery, Taylor. I'm not saying I have to have all 3 of those, but if Montgomery is going to be out, it's got to be somebody else who chases just as bad. I'm not even going to try to project who they would put in for Montgomery if they don't go lefty-lefty, just because the White Sox have like 3,000 guys that they put at the bottom of their lineup. But I want a guy who chases. It has to be at least at league average or better. And what I might be looking to play this one of 2 ways. If this is the top 4, Midro, Slater, Vargas, Kiro, all 4 of them don't chase very much and or make great contact when they do. So it is a possibility that you might only get 1 strikeout between these top 4 first time through the lineup. What you can do then is you can look to take it live, because you can probably get a much better price on the 6.5, or you might even be able to get a 5.5, which I would love a whole lot more. But if you're playing in pregame and this is the lineup that they run, I'm not opposed to a half unit on the over 6.5. It's at great plus money. Or you can bring this one down to 6 and you can pair it with something, or you can just play the 6 at whatever price you can get and just play it for 1 unit straight and don't play the juice. There's a whole bunch of different ways that you can play Christopher Sanchez today, but the ways that I'm looking based on how he's lined is towards the over. So like I said, couple different ways to play this guy. You can wait live until the top 4 bat if that's who they are, because you might be able to get a better price because they're all low strikeout candidates. You can bring it down to 6 and pair them with something else, or you can put a half unit on over 6.5, or you can just play 6+ at whatever price you can get. If we get this projected lineup for 1 unit and just don't pay the juice and just take whatever reduced payout that you get. There's a whole bunch of different ways to play Christopher Sanchez tonight. His line is actually set at a very flexible in a very flexible spot. And the White Sox are a very flexible team. And what I mean by that is that they run so many different potential lineups after their top few guys that you can look to kind of mix and match and play it as you see fit. But that's why we got to wait for lineups. So that would be Christopher Sanchez to me. And we got a few more comments before we get on to the next guy. Who Dat Boy Jay reposted this. Thank you so much. Zimmy, welcome in, my guy. Another great weekend VIP. Yes, it was. We're at a new season high. Loving it, loving it, loving it. Love making you guys money. And Moneybag Tone, good morning to you as well, my friend. Hope all is well too. So thank you guys so much for the comments. Thank you for the love. Appreciate that. All right, let's go on to pitcher number 2. And oh man, this one's gonna be interesting. Jacob Misiorowski, the righty, is striking guys out at an absolutely absurd 35.7%, throwing like 3,000 miles an hour deep into games. His fastball is just ridiculous. If you haven't watched this kid pitch, try to catch this game tonight, man. Like, this kid has just got juice. Love this kid. So he gets the Cubs tonight in a game that is a series that is extremely important for the division. They both have identical records. And Misiorowski is set at a line that I'll explain why I think it is in just a moment. And an interesting line of 5.5 with very bettable juice of -130 and an under that is at slight plus money. So when we look at Misiorowski, he has obviously torched this line in every start except for one. So, I take that back. He only had 5 against the Cardinals because he didn't pitch long enough. But in games where he's gone 18 plus outs, he's absolutely hit this with ease. And so he actually he only had 6 strikeouts against the Twins, but he also had a no-hitter going into the 7th inning, torched the Dodgers for 12. If you're going to whiff to a 4-seam fastball, if you have any whiff at all to a 4-seam fastball, you're going to strike out against this guy. Now, for a guy averaging 6.6 strikeouts per game coming back home, he does get a Cubs team that metrically is one of the best swinging teams in Major League Baseball. They are number 3, since the All-Star break in contact inside the zone. They also have a very high swing rate. So they swing a lot and they make contact a lot. The reason why that's important with a pitcher like Misiorowski is that he does spend 55% of his time in the zone, and that's where he gets a ton of whiff. So his zone contact, albeit only in 468 pitches, which isn't a huge sample size, but he hasn't been up that long, is 77.3%. I've talked about this before about how, like, if that was factored over the course of an entire season, it's not quite Tarek Skubal level, but it's approaching Tarek Skubal level. For reference, Tarek Skubal has thrown almost 2,000 pitches and has a zone contact rate of 73.2. So anything under that 80% mark is exceptional. And it's easy to see why, because while the guy only throws basically 3 pitches, 4-seamer, slider, curve, every now and then he'll go a changeup, but 4-seamer, slider, curve, his fastball average is 99. He frequently gets it over 100, and it carries a 32.1% whiff rate. What that sets you up for is because he throws it to both sides of the plate. It sets you up for a curve, not a traditional 12-6 curve, but it does hit in that 6 to 7 range down here, while the fastball runs straight up. So he goes up with heat and goes big sweeping curve down. So you change hitters' eye levels, you change hitters' the speed to have them process information. That's how Misiorowski can get strikes. But he does live in the zone. And so for this Cubs lineup, which as of right now is projected to be 4 lefties and 5 righties, is that we're going to look for zone contact and, more specifically, zone swing. Because if you're going to swing in the zone and make contact, then chances are you're going to get a whole bunch of quick outs. So it's possible that it's not necessarily the strikeouts that I'm looking to play on this guy. So you go top 3, Bush, Tucker, Suzuki. So Suzuki, unfortunately, has been a strikeout machine, has been a strikeout machine lately. So Just to give you a little bit of flavor for that, he has struck out 7 times in his last 3 games. He struck out 5 times in his last 2 games. Over the last week or so, he's got almost a 40% strikeout rate. Kid's in a slump right now. And so even though I do see that his overall zone contact is just slightly above league average, that's not going to work against a guy like Mizorowski. So you got to put Suzuki down for 1. Bush and Tucker, you have Bush at 83-1, which is slightly over average. You also have Bush swinging over average in the zone, so he's probably a 50-50 spot, and Kyle Tucker is a low strikeout candidate pretty much always, because high zone swing, high zone contact. PCA is, I'm sure, going to strike out, so that's 2. You have Carson Kelly, who has decent metrics for both, so you got a 50-50 there. You got Ian Happ, who takes pitches in the zone and has about an average contact, so you got to put him down for 3. Dansby Swanson is going to be 4 because he doesn't make contact in the zone. Nico Horner is a low strikeout candidate all around because of his contact. And then you get down to, last but not least, Matt Shaw, who is just about average on both. Well, a little bit better than average on both. So that's where the 5.5 comes from. I think that the fact that it's slightly juiced on both sides tells me that the books believe that there's about a 50-50 chance of him getting 5 or him getting 6+. So that's where that line comes from, because when you juice both sides, you get people to pay. Juice on both sides, book wins either way. I think that's where they're going with this one. But because we do have over half this Cubs lineup that is swinging above average, more than average in the zone, what I'm actually looking for here is towards his outs. And so right now we're getting a fantastic price on over 15.5 outs. Now, normally I would couple this with hits and earned runs, because I would look at it and say, okay, well, if he's going to get smacked around, then chances are, even if he doesn't strike guys out and guys put the ball in play, then he's not going to go any more than 5 innings. This is a huge series, and this kid is a gamer. If you've ever watched this kid pitch, you can just see the emotion when he gets big outs. I mean, he's like celebrating like he won the Little League World Series. It's actually really cool to see. He's like jumping around and doing like the let's go. Like I love this guy's intensity. And so with this being such a huge series, and the Cubs having a lot of zone swing and making a lot of zone contact, what I look for is I look for his hits, and his hits are at 3.5, which is the low number that it's been. It's been hovering between 3.5 and 4.5. And when he's been at this 3.5 number, he's only allowed 2 hits per start. Now, low sample size, but still. So you have a very bettable number on both sides for the hits. So that tells me that probably it's going to be a lower scoring game, as is his earned runs down at 1.5. So with the frequency that the Cubs swing in the zone, and the frequency that they make contact when they swing in the zone, and the frequency that Mizorowski attacks guys in the zone, again, 55% zone rate, that's like 7% above league average. I'm not looking at strikeouts so much. I think the strikeout line is set pretty correct. What I'm looking for is this outs, because this plus 150 on over 15.5 outs is really speaking to me. So I'm going to wait to make sure we get this right lineup and we get a lot of guys that swing in the zone, because that can lead to, I mean, it can lead to hits, yes, but it can also lead to balls put in play. And it can also lead to quick outs, which can save his pitch count, which can keep him going longer. So I think that there's all kinds of value right now. Caesars is the best price I found. MGM is it at 125, but plus 150 at Caesars for Jacob Mizorowski over 15.5 outs. Really, really liking that line and the value that it brings. And so Kid Keon asking, sorry, Kid Keon, I missed this one before we went on. Outs for Sanchez. Yeah, over outs for Sanchez is always, I mean, it's never a bad play because the dude just goes so deep. My only problem with that is that oh no, actually no, it was on the other side. So yeah, 18.5. I think you can to expect him to go more than 6 innings. It's certainly possible against this lineup. So if you're going to play outs, that would be the way to play it. And Let's see. Adam's saying this game will be electric, but probably more Cubs fans than Brewers. Yeah, probably. Cubs fans travel well. They travel well. So, Cover Kings, welcome in. Good morning. And yesterday was fun. The whole weekend was fun, actually. Earn runs for Jacob is interesting. I'm assuming I don't know if you're thinking over or under, but the only 2 times he's been lined at a 1.5, he didn't allow any. And the 3 times he was lined at 2.5, he is averaging about allowing about 3. So limited sample size. So I'm not. I'm probably going to stay off the earn runs, but like I said, I'm really looking at the outs here because of how often the Cubs swing in the zone. And how often they make contact in that same zone. All right, on to the last pitcher for the day. And again, if there's anybody we didn't cover, because there's a lot of good pitchers, just drop them in the chat. We will get to it after. Lauderdale, welcome in. I see your comment. We'll talk about him in just a moment. And the last pitcher we're going to talk about today is Dylan Cease. And Dylan Cease gets a Mets team that is coming off of a Sunday night baseball win, traveling West Coast to West Coast, back-to-back. Cease is striking guys out at 29.6% rate, walking guys at an 8.6% clip. This line is set where I did not expect it to be, which is another reason why I wanted to talk about it. So it's actually... You got minus 130 at a couple books, but then you got MGM hanging a minus 115 on both sides, which basically when a book hangs minus 110 to minus 115, or even minus 125 and minus 105, stuff like that on both sides, what they're telling you is that it's 50-50 that it's going to hit. And my problem with that one becomes you have a Mets team, an East Coast team who's going West Coast to West Coast, back-to-back road trips, coming off of a primetime win, and they're heading in to face a guy in Dylan Cease where they haven't had like a ton of K issues, but they also haven't had but there's a few guys that haven't had a ton of success either. So you got like Soto, 3 for 10, 3 Ks and 10 plate appearances. Pete Alonso has struck out 4 and 8 plate appearances. Vientos, who's projected to be in the lineup, has struck out 4 out of 5 times. And then you got other guys who could be in the lineup, like Taylor, who has struck out 3 out of 6, Alvarez, who struck out 2 out of 3. You see where I'm going with this. Really, the only one with any reasonable, actually, there's 2 guys. McNeil is one, and Lindor is another. Both of those 2 guys have a combined 1 strikeout and 22 plate appearances against Dylan Cease. So 2 dead spots, which for a guy at 6.5 at home who is averaging 6.86 Ks per game and who has hit this number at a reasonable rate over the last month or so, I think at a 60% clip. Whew, I expected this line, this over 6.5, given the circumstances, to be somewhere around minus 150 to minus 145, minus 155, somewhere in that range, but it is not. They are making the over 6.5 way too bettable for me. So am I looking under? No, because I don't like East Coast teams going back-to-back road trips out on the other coast. Same thing goes with vice versa. So like if it was the Padres going to play the Yankees and then the Mets, or something like that, I would feel the exact same way. Back-to-back road trips like that across 3 time zones, always tough on a team. And then the angle where we were actually talking about this in VIP this morning. Shout out to Lotz who brought it up, because it actually sparked some really good discussion. Is that when you have a team going back-to-back road trips and then coming off of a nationally televised game, but Cease's numbers are set exactly where they would be for average. And so what that's telling me is this is probably a 50-50 shot. So if I want to get in on Dylan Cease, I probably want to get on the over, but I don't want to get in at a juiced price. What I want to get in on is I for sure want to wait to see a lineup, but I also want to wait and see if I can get anything close to or approximating plus money. Because when I look at this projected lineup right now, which is 6 lefties and 3 righties. The thing that I always look for with Cease is I look for chase. And the reason why I look for chase with Dylan Cease is because he only spends 46.3% of his time in the zone. That's 2.5% under league average. He generates a 31.9% chase rate, which is 3% above league average. And his chase contact is just absolutely ridiculous. I talked about how Sanchez is really good at 50. The league average is 57.6. Dylan Cease is at 43. So if you chase against this man, you have a really high chance of striking out. So we go down the list 3 by 3, and we go Nimmo, Lindor, and Soto. Soto, as we know, never chases anything. Nimmo's chase is average, and Lindor's chase is right at average, but his chase contact is really good too, and does have great history. So between these 3, you're probably getting 1, maybe 1.5. I think I can put him down for. Alonso, I'm sure, will K based on past history. McNeil will not, and Vientos, if he's in the lineup, for sure will, and it's probably a candidate for 2+ strikeouts. So if Vientos is in the lineup batting anything but in the 7, 8, or 9, I might look to take a small prop on him to strike, just a lunch money bet to strike out 2+ times. There's past history. And the other thing with Vientos is he chases a ton, chases 4% above league average, and his chase contact is absolutely horrendous. So Vientos, I never mark guys up for 2, but I think you can mark him up for a 1+. So now we're at about 4-ish, somewhere in that range. Last 3, Beatty, Alvarez, and Mauricio. Beatty, average chase, bad chase contact. Alvarez is bad on both, and Mauricio is bad on both. So you got a lot of chase at the bottom of this lineup. So by the numbers, by the math, this is like 7 to 7. This is like 8 probably, but they're not lining it that way, and that's what's sticking. That's what's sticking in my craw right now. I can't get past the fact, and maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but I can't get past the fact that we're at a -115 to a -130. It seems not fully, but it seems kind of like a pick-me line. So I'm also waiting to see what the Mets do with their lineup, because in that projected that I just noted to you is that there are some changes that they could make. They could certainly not DH Vientos. He's got terrible history against Cease, a terrible strikeout history against Cease, and he's the kind of guy that is just custom made to strike out against him. The same thing goes with a few of the other guys at the bottom of the lineup. So we'll see what they do. We'll see what the Mets do with this lineup. If this goes, if the over, which doesn't appear to be, if I can get the over at anywhere close to or approximating plus money, I might be interested in it. But when the books talk, I got to listen. And what they're saying is, with some of this past history, they're saying it's still going to be a 50-50 shot. And normally with a 6.5, if you have 2 dead spots, which McNeil and Lindor are 2 dead spots tonight, if they're both in the lineup, normally that still means that the over 6.5 should be somewhere in the -145, -155, or even worse range. Or you might even get a 7.5 heavily juiced to the under for Cease going at home, because he has, in his last few home starts, he had 1 against the Royals where he only had 4, but then Diamondbacks with 8, the Dodgers with 11, and so forth. So the line is telling me to maybe leave this one alone. I'm not totally writing it off yet, but I am going to need to see a Mets lineup for this, and wanted you to all be aware too before you start plunking money down on Cease. I would expect Cease to be relatively popular today. I would expect Cease to be popular. I would expect Mazeroski to be popular. And that's why I try to cover them here on this show. All right, we got a few comments here. And we do have, let's see, Lauderdale Owens. I got you up first. Thank you for joining, and thank you for the question. Thoughts on Troy Melton versus Arizona? So for those that don't know, Troy Melton for the Tigers is one of their top prospects. He was a 4th-round draft pick back in 2022. He does have a really, really good fastball, 97, averages 97. His slider is decent, And he also he throws a curve and a splitter, which for a kid this young, you normally don't see that. Only with one start with 7 strikeouts so far. If you're looking at betting him, it's over or nothing. I think that because right now you're still getting the what you're getting is you're still getting the books don't adjust until after like the first 2 or 3 starts, and he only had one back on July 23rd where he struck out 7 in 5 innings. The only thing I would look for here is that I'm guessing, and if I remember right, the outs are at 15.5, heavily juiced towards the under. He's not going more than 5 innings. So with the Diamondbacks being fully in sell mode, I'm not even sure who's going to be in their lineup tonight. With Grichuk already gone and a whole bunch of guys on the trade block, but over for sure. If you're going to play this one, you got to look over. I am also a big believer that I don't usually go more than a half unit on a kid who's only got like 1 or 2 starts under his belt. I got to wait to see if it's a mirage or if it's real. But if you're going to play it, I would go over, and I would go for a half unit. All right, Roger asking thoughts on Chase Burns. I almost covered Chase Burns on here today, to be honest with you. His line is kind of set in no man's land because you got a few books hanging a 5.5 with just absurdly stupid juice for over. And then you got DK and a few other smaller ones hanging the 6.5 with absurd juice on the under. What this tells me is before the lineup comes out is that they think that he's getting 6 exactly. And so if you're going to play this one, I wouldn't take an under because the Dodgers have shown the propensity to strike out like a decent amount lately. So what I would look to do is I would look to maybe just play like 1 unit straight up without paying the juice on the over 5.5, or you can pair him with 6+ with something else that you want to take down or up and do it that way. His hits and earned runs don't really tell me that the Dodgers are going to come in and especially not on the road, do to him what they did to do to him what like Boston did. So it tells me he's going to have at least a decent start. And I think that 6 is the right number. I think that 6 is probably where he lands. You can even try a little bit, like a little tiny bet on like maybe 6 exactly. If you want to like be really exotic about it. But if you're going to play this one straight up, assuming the Dodgers lineup is what's projected, I would probably look to just take like a unit, for example, and just put it on over 5.5 and just don't pay any juice for it, just because there is the potential, even though they've obviously, have been kind of up and down lately, there still is the potential for this lineup against a kid to just wallop him. So, and the Reds have shown that when he does get walloped, they will be very protective of both his arm and his confidence. So you gotta be aware of that, is that there is the potential that he can come in and that the Dodgers can come in and smack him a little bit, which would really limit his start and also limit his Ks. We have Cover Kings on half unit on Edward Cabrera under 4.5 Ks at +110. They dropped him, and it's supposed to be hotter and humider than hell in St. Louis tonight. So I get the look. And also 1 unit for Cover Kings on Slade Ciccione over 5.5 against at -115. It's the right opponent for it, that's for sure. If you're going against the Rocks, it's over or nothing. Roger's saying is Mizorowski still in the limited mid-80s pitch count. They said they're going to do it situation by situation. I would venture to guess in most cases he will be yes, which is another reason why I like the over 15.5 outs, because if you have a Cubs team that swings a lot in the zone, makes a lot of contact, you can have a lot of short at bats, which might not be conducive for strikeouts, but can be for him going deeper in the game. So Kid Keon asking thoughts about Framber and DeGrom. At first glance at the line, I think they both smack. I think that both of them are in fantastic spots tonight. I think that the Angels, that I'll be totally honest, just because we were on 2 of these guys over the weekend in VIP, And these are two that we got fucked out of 2 strikeouts that would have cashed. Woo, we did cash, but we missed a ladder on him. And Logan Gilbert, absolutely horrendous call. So if the Angels don't have some home cooking umps tonight, there's a chance that DeGrom can just smack. So the lines all say that DeGrom has a wonderful start. So hits under, strikeouts I'm actually looking at a lot of things, Jacob DeGrom tonight. Framber is in a really great spot against a Nats team that has been bleh lately. Really, really bleh. And so, yeah, I would look to back them I'm looking to back both in a variety of ways tonight. Yoshi, I'm on the fence about. Kid Keon asking about Yoshi. He's had some up and down starts on the road. The way that it's lined to me tells me that it's going to be either 6 or 7. So if there's a 6 or 7 band you can take, you might want to look at that one. The one thing I don't like about potentially looking at strikeouts for him is that his outs are down. And when he hasn't met his outs prop, his strikeouts have responded accordingly. So for example, obviously Milwaukee, he got torched. He recorded only 15 outs against Colorado, only got 6 strikeouts. He recorded 14 outs against San Francisco, only got 4 strikeouts. He recorded 11 outs against the Yankees, only got 2. So that's what might lead me potentially off of everything Yoshi tonight, is that there are some indications in his line that say that there could be some strikeouts. However, my problem is that his outs are, which are normally at an 18.5 or a 17.5, at multiple books are down at a 16.5. Now, part of that is that when you're factoring in past averages, that he's failed to hit that in 2 or 3 of his last 5. But I would have still expected against a team like Cincinnati for this to be at a 17.5, not a 16.5, even though it's juiced to the over. So I might leave Yoshi alone. This one's probably going to be all the way till the lineup is released for me. So Lauderdale Owens asking, how do you feel about Cabrera outs tonight? The Marlins showcase him ahead of the trade deadline. Possibly, but I also think that with the fact that it's going to be like 9 million degrees in St. Louis tonight, and the humidity is supposed to be just absolutely brutal. And I've been in St. Louis in late July, early August, and it can just be absolutely horrendous. So you also have to worry about, like, you don't want him to hurt something, which then kills his trade value. So it's just, I'm not trying to talk you off of it. I'm just saying that there's another side of the coin there, because I also think that that's why Merrill Kelly pitched like a milquetoast game on Saturday. He was barely throwing anything that snapped his arm. He was just throwing like changeups and fastballs. And he doesn't have a dominating fastball. And I firmly think that that's because they know that they're probably going to trade him, and you don't want to do anything to mess up his arm. Could potentially be the same thing tonight. If I'm looking at Cabrera's outs prop and comparing it to what it normally is, the 15.5, that's what it normally is at. He's kind of had up and down history for that one. So I might want to look at an over on that one. But I think if you're playing at Lauderdale, I think that over is probably the way to go. Roger saying, well, I saw the post from Kevin Roth, but I experienced it last night. We got some wild pictures, man. And there was trash and stuff all over our neighborhood this morning. It was wild last night. There were straight line winds, which, we're not in a hurricane area or in a tornado area either. We're in the cities. There was a hurricane, not quite hurricane style winds, but there were straight line winds at an airfield not too far from my house that were like 66 miles an hour. It was we had the weather on for the local news, and let's just say the chart was very colorful. And we're supposed to get blasted again tonight too. So thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. Yeah, we're good. No damage, thankfully. Everybody's okay. But we are going to hunker down tonight because there's a huge wave of storms that are coming in. I just hope that, like, I saw what you meant from Kevin Roth, is that it looks like they're going to be able to get the game in, but I'm actually hoping that for everybody's sake who might be attending it, I'm hoping that they actually move first pitch up like by an hour or two, just to make sure that everybody can get home safe, because Minneapolis was getting pummeled last night. They showed the weather cam, and the rain and the winds were so bad that you couldn't even see the highway from traffic cams. So that's what we're in for tonight. So seems like a good night to just sit in and sit home and watch some baseball. But thank you, Roger. I appreciate it. And yes, we got hit last night, and we're gonna get hit again tonight. So, but it's really nice out right now. It's super nice out here now. Cover King saying, I like DeGrom too. Looks like a great all candidate. Yeah. The line to me says that there's a chance that he just absolutely obliterates them. Yoshi on the road is scary. He is. It's especially Yoshi with a reduced outs prop. I don't know. And then Lauderdale, yes, absolutely, my guy. That's why I do it, man. All for you guys. And Kid Keon saying Simeon Woods over 4.5 hits allowed against a hot Red Sox team. I got to watch the weather because right now it's not supposed to come in until after. In fact, let's see. I got my local weather on my phone here, and I think it's not supposed to come in till later, but I think we got. It's supposed to wait off until about 9 p.m., 9-ish p.m. right now, which would be after Woods Richardson's start would be over. The other thing you got to look for if you want to take any prop from that game is, does the book require the game to go 9 innings and finish? You just have to look at what the house rules are for that. If it doesn't require it, then you can just bet as normal. But most books require the game to go 9 innings or be finished within the next 24 hours. And it would all depend on if there is a delay of any kind, what they do. So I'm up in the air on any Twins Red Sox props right now, just because of what the forecast says, like Roger just mentioned, is that it does appear that right around the 9 to 10 p.m. hour, that'd be 10 to 11 Eastern, so 9 to 10 Central tonight, that we're going to somewhere in the Twin Cities area, and probably us, like I live on the outskirts of the Twin Cities, is going to just get hammered with rain, with wind, with all kinds of fun stuff. So I'm holding off on any props from that game until I know for sure what they're going to do. Because if they're going to move the game early, then it's going to be a regular game and you don't have to worry about it. If they're not, then you before you bet any props for that game, I would check your book and look at house rules and look at what has to happen for a prop to be graded yay or nay, and then go from there. All right. I think I got to everybody in the chat. If there's anybody that I didn't get to, please just repost it. I'll be happy to. Other looks, sides, totals, all the things for today that I am looking at besides strikeouts. From a money line perspective, I think that, if I thought that the game was actually going to play out and finish in its entirety, the Red Sox money line would be a decent play for me. It's close to plus money. It's close enough. Minus 104 right now. I actually think that the Reds money line has some value at plus 136. And if you don't mind paying a little bit of juice, I think that the Giants money line at minus 130 also does have some value as a lean. I'm not like super excited about it, but I think that it does have some value. But if you're looking for plus money or close to it, Red Sox, if the game is going to either be moved up or we have a reasonable confidence it's going to finish, or your book would pay it out if it doesn't go 9 innings, which you got to see. And then I think that the Reds money line also has some value from a totals perspective. I think Yankees and Rays under 8.5 has some value. The Cardinals Marlins has some value at under 8 as well. And a little bit, just a tiny bit of value on the under 10 for Mariners A's. You do have two pitchers that have a ton of familiarity with each other, with their respective opponents, with Sears and with Castillo. Castillo actually has some really good history against a lot of these Athletics hitters. I'm not looking at Castillo for strikeouts, quite honestly. I don't like the fact that with a team that he's got like a 33% strikeout rate against and ample plate appearances, he's at a straight average with even juice on both sides. I don't like that at all. I also just I'm just not a huge fan of taking Luis Castillo's strikeout props unless his line is something other than a 5.5 at normal juice, and today it is not. So I'm way out on Castillo, but there's a little bit of value on the under 10. All right. I think that'll do it for us today. Thank you to everybody for joining. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Hope this helped. Again, the things that I'm looking at from the plays or from the pitchers that we reviewed are a look at the variety of ways to play Christopher Sanchez. It's going to be lineup dependent for me, but if you want to play it right now, you can either go 1 unit straight on the 6+ and don't pay any juice, or a half unit on over 6.5 at plus money, or look to pair him with something. Right now, the White Sox lineup might change my opinion on all of that, because the bottom 3 to 4 of their lineup are like, it's kind of like a grab bag every game. Mizorowski, I'm looking very strongly at his outs over because of the Cubs zone swing rate and zone contact. And I want to see what happens with the Cease line. I want to see what lineup the Mets put out there, in addition to everything else that I told you. So, all right. Thank you to everybody in the chat who reposted, who commented. Thank you to Mom Who Bets, Jay McCarthy, Roger, Kid Keon, Adams, Who Dat Boy Jay, Zimmy, Moneybag Tone, Kid Keon, Adams, Lauderdale, Cover Kings, and I think I got them all. Thank you to everybody who joined. Please, if you haven't yet, please do subscribe to the Daily Bread Network on YouTube. It helps get all of our content out there. If you're not already, please do follow me at SpinDoc Sports on X. Like the video if you like what you hear. We'll be back tomorrow. 3 more pitchers, whole bunch more. Best of luck in anything that you are tailing tonight. We'll see you then.